You are live. Okay, let's see if this works. We'll wait for it to pull up YouTube. And
Yeah.
I think it said there's probably a 10 to 15 second delay, so we'll find out here in a second.
Gotcha. I'm keeping
Give
it
everybody
on.
a chance. Or give
Oh, somebody's already saying, hey.
Are we live?
Still
hey. I believe that's one of
waiting.
Chris's. Yes, we are live. If that's what I think that is, the Fat Cat Double Burn. Hey, y'all, can't stay too long, but went to say hi. I believe that's one of my Chris's from one of our new fantasy football leagues. So,
oh, nice.
Give me a thumbs up if that's you, Chris, or is this a different Fat Cat that we have a Chris R and a Chris K, and one of the Chris's said, just call me Fat Cat. So I'm hoping that's the right one. But we'll find out here in a second. Anyway, at least it's working now. So, hey, Tyler, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. Yourself?
Oh, doing good. Woo, it is. Woo, let's go. All right. Hey, Chris, what's going on, man? Now, this is the point in the show where me and Tyler act like we haven't been talking for the last hour and try to make nice and small talk here. But I'd like to welcome anybody that's watching it live or anybody that's going to watch this after the show ends. If you're watching it live, if you're watching it live, please make sure and comment. Let us know you're out there. If not, you can comment on the Facebook post that we're going to put to share the link. We'll try to do this occasionally, maybe weekly, however often Tyler feels like joining in with this. And hopefully we can bring in some of the other fans of Skottie's group in here, so it just won't be me and him chatting back and forth, but we can kind of see everybody's collection, your origin story for what brought you to Skottie, and what else is going on. And as Chris says, you watch a lot of these probably YouTube streams and you hear people say, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Me and Tyler aren't trying to sell anything. We're not trying to make any money off YouTube. So I appreciate you hitting the like button and hitting the subscribe button, but I mainly appreciate you tuning in and chatting with us. And what kind of got this started before I turn it over to Tyler and let him talk, and so I don't ramble on, is that I met Tyler, and you see the picture there, down at HeroesCon this summer. And we had a lot of fun just sitting and talking, chatting. He brought Skottie stuff. I had Skottie stuff. We shared it, looked at it, and I thought, man, this is a lot of fun. But you don't get that same interaction whenever you're messaging back and forth. So this is about as close as we can get because everybody lives geographically in different locations. So it's a lot of fun to sit here and chat about Skottie stuff, or as Tyler's waiting to talk, hear me ramble on. And the second reason that I wanted to do this was, if everybody remembers, last December, we had the first annual Skottie's Awards, and it was pre-recorded. And as I told Tyler, it took about 5 takes to get it because I wasn't happy with the way I talked or the way I stuttered or the way I spit words out. This time, hopefully Tyler will be in with me on this one. We're going to try to do it live in December. So we want to get a bunch of these shows out of the way to make sure we don't screw that one up too much, because the Skotties is something that I'm proud of. I'm proud of for our group because it just shows the year kind of accumulation of the year, if I can spit my words out, of all of Skottie's achievements, and not just Skottie's achievements, but the fun we've had collecting and seeing new covers come out. So with that being said, I'll pass it over to Tyler. Got anything to say?
No, just your friendly neighborhood Tyler here. Had to bring that back. No, I mean it was great, getting to meet you at HeroesCon and finally meet in person. And like you said, we just able to kick it off and have great Skottie discussions and comic discussions. And I mean, you're a big part of, or the main reason that this group exists and why we're all together and share all of our Skottie knowledge and collection and all that stuff. So being able to join in with you and chat, like you said, I have no problem chatting all day, any day about Skottie Young. I mean, as Skottie and Megan can attest to, I visited their booth frequently and chatted their ear off. So definitely happy, be able to keep doing that and keep, bringing in other people as you've, brought up, and being able to just kind of have another outlet for people to share their, Skottie or their affinity for Skottie. So,
And as Tyler said, the only issue I think we're going to have whenever we bring a third guest in is they're probably going to have to get past my rambling. And Tyler has said he likes to chat as well. So we'll have to have a little stop sign up so people can say, hey, chill out for a second. I got a comment.
Yeah, a picture of Skottie's head we just hold up. It's like, all right, that's enough.
Yeah. I've had to apologize to Tyler. We launched this about an hour ago to test it out. And I was like, Tyler, just say, shh, hush, shut up. Let me talk, because I will ramble on, especially when I get nervous. So, all right. Thank you for joining me on this journey we're about to embark on, Tyler. And we came up with a few slides that we're going to talk over. The first thing I just wanted to mention that was shared within the group today, the big Marvel sets are live in the store again. I checked right before we went live. The 1 in 50 black and white sets, virgin covers, they are sold out at the moment. So they must have went pretty quickly, but there are still sets of the 27 regular covers signed by Skottie. And there's also, and I don't know if you saw this, Tyler, but they also launched the prints. There's a special, you can get 3 of the Skottie, I've got one over there, but it's not unfolded, 3 of the big Skottie, big Marvel prints for $45. So it's $15 a piece. You get 3 of them. That's a pretty good bargain. And those were still in stock. And that's the link at the bottom of the screen there as of about 20 minutes ago. So that being said,
I understand that. That's awesome that they added it to the store. That you're talking about the San Diego Comic-Con exclusive ones that he brought with, or
I think these are the ones that were, I thought it was the ones that were pre-rolled by previews that came in, but I'll have to look at it. Yeah. So those were available. If anybody wants any of those, check on that link that I had up. All right, the first thing that would get into here, this is the picture where Tyler starts to say snuck up behind me, but that sounds conniving. It's more of I was talking to another gentleman in line, and Tyler was in the line that was adjacent to our line, and he came up and said, hey, and I don't know if I told you this, Tyler, but I'll tell everybody here. The gentleman that I was talking to, he had just asked me why I was there, who I was coming to see, and I started listing off all the artists. He's like, oh, those are all good choices, except that Skottie Young. Oh, gosh, what? And I said, really? I said, what's wrong with Skottie? And he said, well, it was a last day of a con, and I went over to his booth and got him to sign something, and said he just didn't feel very talkative that day. And he said, I don't have time for people that aren't very talkative. And about that exact time, before I could even make a comment back to him, is when you came up behind me and said, hey, Dustin. And the first 15 words out of your mouth, 5 of them were probably Skottie. And they were all really positive things. And we were talking about, you showing me some of the stuff you're getting signed, some of the stuff you're going to get there. And after you left, he didn't talk very much anymore. I guess he kind of understood that we were pretty pro Skottie. So that's one of the things. You catch these guys, artists or people, at the end of the day, you catch them on the last day of the con, they're probably not going to be as energetic as they are on the first day of the con, especially some of the lines and the people that Skottie have to go through. And I'm sure at that time he was probably sketching. And Tyler, I don't know if you remember one of the lists that I posted from one of his heroes. His sketch list looked like it had about 50 different items on them. And at that time, like 95% of them were marked off. So he doesn't go to cons to take it easy. He's hustling the whole time he's there. So this gentleman didn't understand that. But the gentleman was nice enough to take this picture. And he snapped it too soon, because you can see my thumb is fixing to go up for a thumbs up. And I never do a thumbs up during a picture. But for some reason, you were standing there, and I thought, I'm going to do a thumbs up. But he snapped it with my thumb halfway up.
Yeah, it's the Talladega Nights. Like I don't know what to do with my hands, just kind of holding them there. So exactly, yeah. So it's, and then partially it was probably my fault. As soon as I interrupted, I knew I wasn't going to stop talking. So he kind of probably was like, all right, that's fine. I said my part, and they're clearly on a different, like you said, wavelength altogether, especially with Skottie stuff. So.
Oh yeah, it was like the lights had went off in the eyes, and it was just like, all right, we're here chatting. Nice enough fellow, but yeah, he wasn't pro Skottie, so it was hard to chat too much with him long after that. And you could tell that there was 2 pictures he took of us. One had the thumb down, one had the thumb at half mast. He didn't get the full thumb, and part of me is like, thank God he didn't get the full thumb.
Yeah.
What's that?
The full Terminator effect, the thumb is going down, sinking into the lava. So
Yeah, I'm halfway embarrassed, halfway proud. So, Megan's on. Hey, Megan,
yeah,
what's up?
yeah, Megan's here. So I don't know if she supplied her own bingo card or because we didn't get one in time. So
I will say we were worried about the bingo card, worried about the Tyler, I would like to have like a heart rate monitor on you, man, because you seem like as calm as can be, and your heart rate's probably 60 beats per minute, where mine's about 140 right now. So this will be an interesting contrast between us going back and forth on this.
Yeah, it's an easier, but I can focus on I just see you and it just gets lost in the talking versus if I had like a audience or if I could see, everyone in the chat, their face, then I'd be maybe a little bit more heart beating faster, so.
I think I jinxed you. I brought it up and you're up to 2 uhs now too. So we're tied. We'll try to, to keep them down. All right. We'll move on to the next slide here. We kind of talked about this an hour ago, but we'll act like we haven't. Any new Skottie items in your collection this week?
I know you've got a few. I recently finally got my Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I know these have been going out and everybody's been getting them. I went with just the foil. I wanted to get both. I just ended up just the foil for now. Trying to cut back a little bit on purchases, but as Megan said, it's fun trying to capture a photo of this without getting your full reflection in it, just because it's it's such a shiny surface. But there was that, and then you had kind of shown. I don't think it was this week. It was a few days ago. But the I Hate Fairyland Compendium, which I got from the shop, which has the book plate in it. So definitely just a super awesome collection. I love that they went with the black on the front and the back and the pink on the side. It's just such a clean addition to the I Hate Fairyland collection, seeing as I've got the trade paperbacks, I've got the hardcovers, I've got all the individual issues. So huge fan of I Hate Fairyland. So I was definitely happy to add that one to the collection. So
very awesome. It's hard to. I'm new to this, so toggling the banners between, but it kind of worked out because that's the same one that I had. Of course, mine didn't come from the shop. I didn't realize that they were going up. I should have, but I pre-ordered mine from my pull list supplier. Here's a shout out to Clan McDonald Comics. So that's mine came in whenever me and Tyler were chatting before this started, and I was opening up my box. That was the first item in the box. So it's still available at the Skottie shop. I posted the link below, and you get that killer book plate that Tyler held up of Gert. And stickers.
Stickers. Yeah, I already went ahead and applied mine to my backboard. There's a few kind of scattered throughout, but always happy to add more I Hate Fairyland stickers or prints or whatever have you. So
nice. All right. Well, I'll show the other books. I didn't show you this, Tyler, but this is also from Clan McDonald Comics, and I'd ordered a couple of copies, but I just pulled them out, the single ones. Got gotta find where my camera's at. The third printing of Ain't No Grave issue 1.
That one's super clean.
Second printing of issue number 2. Oh, the bags and boards makes it hard to see, but issue 3. And like I've mentioned before, I've tried to go every day that they came out to my local comic shop, which is where there's not a shop in Glasgow where I live, but in Bowling Green where I work, there's one shop, and they've only been getting it like one of these issues in. So they open up right at 12, so I have to time my lunch right to be the one that gets it there, so I can read it in the car. But it's been worth the drive over there. The X-Men #1 and the Spider-Man Reigns.
That one I missed out on. I wish I had gotten it. Thankfully now things should hopefully be better because now that I'm officially known as the Skottie Young guy at my comic store, they I think they're going to be pulling everything and anything now, and then I can just kind of pick from the lot. So I'm always weary of that stuff because I don't want them to like buy anything or pull anything that I may not or may choose to pass on. So, but they were fine. They told me that they'd be able to sell it totally fine with Skottie's stuff. So.
And I know which comic shop you shop at, but I don't want to give it away in case everybody comes to get your Skotties. But I do like your comic shop. I've visited it on vacation down in Orlando. So
no, I don't mind. Yes, the Coliseum chain. So there's 12. So you got to be able to find which specific one I frequent. But it's a great chain, and the fact they do bonus points for however many dollars you spend, and they have their own Skottie section. Not every comic shop has that. As popular as he is, it's surprising that some shops lack that section. So I'm glad that mine thankfully does. So.
Well, you're very fortunate. Which my local shop is mainly a record and gaming shop that has about a third of the store's comics. And several years ago, I guess they kept getting burned with people having pull lists and not pulling their issues out. So they really condensed what new releases they got. And unfortunately, that hurts whenever books, especially image run books. Now, if it's a Marvel book, especially a Marvel Skottie book, they're going to get quite a few of those. But if it's an image book, it seems like they've pulled away from those because they're more specialized. So, I should have signed up.
Fortunate, but understandable. Yeah.
Right. And the other items I got this week, and I posted in the group, but I'll post here too, and they're still available as well, are the unoriginal prints. And just to see if anybody's seeing these and seeing like a picture of them, these are 11 by 17. And to use Tyler's word, they're very, very clean. I like that word. That's almost as good as lit. And the whiting, I had to bring that back.
I was hoping it'd pop up at some point today. So
you knew it was Destiny. There's 8 of them, and the 2. There's the Spider-Man issue from Amazing Spider-Man 75, and this was yours from the Sweet 16 tournament, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. After Megan took the Magneto one, that was my second choice. So.
And speak of the devil, not Megan, but the print.
Such a great, I love that cover.
And now there's Spider-Man, X-Men 92. I love this cover here. And
one,
Alien. Yeah. And last but not least, the Avenger poster, which I'm surprised. I think as of maybe yesterday, there was still 7 copies in stock of the Avenger poster. I figure that's my prediction to be the first one to sell out. So if anybody's looking to get that one, I would grab it now. Best print. Yeah, the Magneto. It is a good one, Megan. It's a very good print.
Yeah. I feel terrible because you've got yours. I've got the one that's just by itself, and then I've got my 2 that are framed. I haven't put them up yet, unfortunately, on my wall. So I've made the space. I just gotta take the time and put them up there, and then I want to swap out some other ones. But definitely, like you said, as soon as I saw the Avengers print, I knew I at least had to grab that one along with the Magneto and the Infinity cover were the 3 that I got. So.
But have you seen like the bloodlust breakout in our group when anybody posts that print or that up for sale or the comic up for sale?
Yep. Yeah. I mean, it's either it's all the jealousy that they don't have it, or it's the shock at the sticker value as it continues to go up in value. So.
Yeah, there's certain ones that it's like if you ever came across it at a decent price. You'd have to get it even if you felt you were overpaying. And I say decent price, I mean above what the last one sold for, because it seems like each one that sells, the price just keeps getting pushed a little bit further up the ladder, and pretty soon they're going to be so scarce because we've got some pretty diehard Skottie collectors in the group, and not even in the group, just out there in general. And those are going to disappear quickly, and as they already have, and with the rare number of them. We may never even see another opportunity to buy some of those issues, especially in any decent condition at all.
No, it's stuff like you said, and we'll talk about it here later on. It's a talking point, but as we see more and more people line up at conventions for signatures, and you see more and more of people bringing older stuff. Like you said, I brought older sketchbooks that I had gotten off eBay from people and had Skottie sign and like you said, other people just bringing hard to find covers that, like you said, are going to just become more and more scarce. So.
And thank you very much for bringing those sketchbooks, because I've seen a lot of those online and seen images from them, but that was the first time to be able. And I was eating chicken strips at the time, and I was scared to death I was going to get grease on the pages of your book, so I was being very meticulous as I turned the pages. And you're like, "It's fine, they're for looking at." I'm like, dude, I don't want to mess your book up.
Because I've always been that kind of person where I don't generally 9 times out of 10 I'm not going to keep something in this original packaging or worry about sealing it and stuff. And I've kind of changed a little, especially getting into the slab stuff now that Skottie's shop, they offer that with the own Skottie label, which is really cool. But those are books meant to be flipped through, meant to be checked out. And even Megan, I told you that Megan even finally, I think it was Effluent, if I'm not mistaken, was the one that she hadn't seen in person. And so just getting to watch her and Skottie flip through and then even look at like the pictures at the back at like a convention, from years back, and just reminisce and have memories and all that stuff. So it's definitely cool to, own any kind of that history. I mean, that's why I collected, at least, is just the, historical aspects. I got in, like most people, on the baby covers, not realizing the Spider Clan stuff he had done, or Iceman, or, any of the previous work that was, I just didn't see at the time because it had been a little bit past that. So it's cool to go back and grab that stuff for sure.
Yeah, and I think when Marvel really brought Skottie to the forefront, it was a lot of people probably thought, hey, I'm getting in on the ground floor. And you didn't realize the subflooring and the basement and all the stuff that like you said, when you go back, you're like, oh man, he's been doing this for a few years. This isn't his first rodeo on some of these. So I was in kind of the same boat as you're referring to. When you were flipping through the original art pages at Heroes Con, did you see the cover art for one of those sketchbooks? And my mind went blank. It's the one where Skottie's at the table sketching.
Things, or no, not Things. It's the goodness.
I keep wanting to say Daily Grind. I know it's not Daily Grind, so I'm.
It's the no, it is Daily Grind. You're right.
Is it? Okay.
Should be this. Yes.
That original art was in the art book that Megan had brought to Heroes.
I missed that. I unfortunately didn't get a chance to thoroughly look at it because I felt bad as Megan and them said they're going to see if they'll have somebody top me for amount of times they get in the line, like I did at Heroes, because I was there at least once, if not twice a day, just in line waiting for signatures and stuff. So I didn't get to flip through as much as I wanted to that original art, but that's really cool if he had the Daily Grind stuff there. So
it was, and Megan had suggested stuff, and that might have been the names were like rotating in my mind, and I was seeing the different images, but I couldn't pull it out. But that was the correct. Steph's another good one. But whenever I saw it in there, I don't know if you got to meet Matt Gilmore, didn't you? And Matt and Nikki, whenever we were over there watching Skottie draw.
Yeah,
Deadpool Wolverine. Yeah. Well, Matt saw the twinkle in my eyes as I saw that piece, because I didn't get to get the Middleton sketch that I was hoping to get, so I had a little bit of extra cash left, and I was this close to pulling it out and trying to grab it. And Matt said, "Wait a second," and he grabbed it and got it. And I was very tickled for Matt. Matt's a great guy. I really think of the world of him and Nikki. And he's not that good of a fantasy football player, and he'll attest to that. But he'll kick my butt this year. But I have to pick on him. He talks more trash in the fantasy chat groups than anybody else, so I have to pick on him. But I was glad he'll take good care of it. He'll enjoy it, and him and Nikki are huge Skottie fans, so I was glad he was able.
Yeah, not winning, unfortunately, the auction for the big Deadpool Wolverine piece. So,
were you the underbidder on that?
Oh yeah, definitely. I watched that. It was an enjoyable experience. That was my first, because it was my first Heroes convention, so it was my first auction, and it was funny talking with Megan before. She was like, "No, I don't think it'll go for a crazy amount." And talking with Matt and them as well, and just watching that, just jump and go above and beyond what people were expecting. So it makes sense, especially with the movie coming out, the hype around it, and and getting that team up that people have been wanting. And it was it was so fun, like you said, watching Skottie, do that live. I mean, we get to, we've watched the videos on YouTube of him inking pieces and even coming up with sketches and stuff. But at least me personally, because I unfortunately never got to meet him at a con where he did sketches previously. So getting to watch him do that piece live was awesome. So
it was quite the experience. Yeah, it was a lot of fun getting to see that. And after the auction, I had to leave about 3 or 4 o'clock that day. So I was going through a one stoplight town around midnight, and all of a sudden my phone started lighting up with people messaging me how much it went for, different friends that I had there at the auction, and I was really proud. I was like, well, that's good for him, good for the Heroes initiative, and good for Skottie for putting such. He didn't phone that one in at all. He put a lot of effort in that, and it was well deserved. It being the highest.
Yeah, no, for sure. There were so many great pieces, and I mean, I just also love the fact that it's just so big. I mean, again, I don't ever see Skottie working as big, at a scale like that. So doing it normally 11x17, and then inking and stuff, it's just, I'm sure it's different. Having that big canvas, that stuff as another artist, big canvases, white empty canvases are like, I'm like, ugh, I hate that. I don't want to see something empty. So, but I'm sure, at the same time, it's a blast because he just gets to do whatever he wants. And that's, the fun of it. So,
yeah. And having the audience that he has around him, to me, that would be extremely intimidating to have people watching the back of your head as you're drawing this. But he's got his little earbuds in and just going to town on that and acting like he's the only one in the room. So,
yeah, I was going to say, I would have done the same thing. I'd put in headphones and then be like, all right, the rest of the world doesn't exist. I'm just going to sketch and slap color up here and do my thing. So,
yeah, I'd be listening to my NSYNC songs while I'm drawing a mean stick figure up there. Would be probably the best I could do at that time. So,
hey, NSYNC and stick figures. I mean, you can't go wrong with that. So,
yeah, thank goodness Deadpool 3 brought NSYNC back. I am so glad. It was about time.
Oh, 100%. It's been the greatest revival, and it's still not exactly what I want. The fact that Justin and NSYNC are still kind of separate entities in a way, but it's at least enough for my inner child to be happy, and especially this, Here Bye 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 and all this stuff being brought back. It's fantastic. So
yeah, I had an excuse to bring the No Strings Attached CD out, and had to find a CD player. We don't even have CD players in the house anymore, but find one and blow it out like an old Nintendo and pop it in there and play it. So, exactly. Good time.
That's awesome.
Real quick, Chris's comment, and I didn't mean to not bring it up yet, but I didn't want to interrupt myself or Tyler there. But I found Skottie via a digital comic app called Vive. He pretty much brought me into the physical collecting world. Well, welcome here. Hopefully you're here to stay, my friend. And we'll transition then into the next slide here, which brings us to the next big show that Skottie and Megan are going to, and that's at Terrificon. I've never been to Terrificon. Have you been to Terrificon?
I have not. No, yep. I haven't been.
It looks like it's going to be a pretty great show. The artists that are listed there, and they have the celebrities as well. So it looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. And mostly, hopefully they have the same turnout that he's had at Heroes and San Diego Comic-Con. And judging from the people in our group that are going, it looks like there's a lot of excitement. And I believe Megan had put a 40 book limit per person, because it doesn't sound like they're going to have the private vendor signings like they had at Heroes. Yeah. Let's see.
No, yeah, like I said, and I'm sure, for Skottie especially, being able to go to a con for the first time has got to be a fun new experience, to be able to, see what it's all about, meet people who maybe haven't had the chance to come out and see you and do all of that. So,
well, exactly. I agree with you 100%. I want to speak to a little bit more to that on the next slide, but real quick, you've seen Deadpool 3, haven't you, Tyler? I think we've.
Yeah, I've seen it twice so far. So. All
right. And Megan said you went to see it on Sunday. Still trying to explain all the deep cuts to her. There were a lot. It's a movie that you probably watched 2 or 3 times, and Ryan Reynolds just talks so dang fast. He's so quick that. Is it too? it's been out for 2.5 weeks. I don't want to spoil anything though, but
it's tough to talk about that. But yeah, I mean, even watching it the second time, people at that by that point had posted images and things they had caught, and seeing it that second time through, I was able to pinpoint the stuff I had missed the first time, and just more so relish the stuff that I caught the first time. But there was just so much it felt like happening here and there, and then I didn't really get time to be able to really get that attention for each of those pieces. So it was fun getting to watch it a second time again, especially opening night's always my favorite for a Marvel film, because I love going Thursday, like 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock is when I generally go, because that's like the first showing, and just having all the people scream. I know I was super loud in that first showing, and it's just such a blast. So
it was a lot of fun. There was like 3 people in the theater with me, because I went to a 9:15 a.m. showing, and it was so early they hadn't even put out like the decorative, the little kid pool that I ended up buying. They hadn't even put those out yet. And I went up there asking them, "Do you have a kid pool or baby pool popcorn tin?" And they looked at me like I had 2 heads. And I said, "I'll just get the tin can." And then as I was leaving at noon, as other people were fixing to go in, they had the little baby pool out. So I went and bought an untainted, non-popcorn baby pool.
And that's awesome you were able to get one. Our theater even had signs up saying all of them were sold out, because AMC's dropped theirs like 2 days before the movie came out. So the day of, they didn't have any for sale, at least by the time I got to the theater. But everyone who went to go see the showing had a popcorn bucket from at least, multiple different theaters. I saw the Flying Head, the Baby, the Wolverine, all of it. So people were prepared.
Yeah, the flying head pool was the one that I really wanted. Even the kind of the lewd Wolverine popcorn tin, I thought the most creative one was the head pool. So I was really disappointed that we don't have that. I forget who, Regal or AMC, whichever one had it. We didn't get it. But anyway, if I had to get one, baby pool is pretty cool too. So it actually looks like a little statue. So it fits in the collection.
Yeah, that was a decent sized one. It's it's funny because now they don't necessarily call them popcorn buckets as much as they call them popcorn vessels, is the term that I've seen thrown around the most, which is true, because some of these are practically toys at this point, not even necessarily popcorn buckets. So
well, I like that. I start calling myself the popcorn vessel. I think that's a good nickname, Tyler. I'm all for that.
It's fitting for everybody. So
well, I will say popcorn at 9:15 in the morning doesn't hit like popcorn at 6 o'clock at night. I was about ready to throw up after a third of the bucket, so not recommended. But anyway, back to the Terrificon. Hopefully, one thing I was going to point out about this: if you do go and you're in the group, please post pictures. Post pictures of the books you're getting. Post pictures of you and Skottie or you and Megan. I like seeing that. I like seeing the interactions. I know Megan and Skottie like interacting with the fans, especially ones that are real Skottie fans that are there for buying for themselves and not picking up for maybe a store or something. They love interacting and just talking to you. So don't be afraid to chat with them a little bit, and make sure to let them know how welcome they are, and bring them candy. They like candy. You can bring them any type of candy they want. They won't turn it down. I guarantee it.
Oh no, that was one thing Megan told me. I remember when she was telling me that you dropped off candy for her. She hadn't caught you when you did it, but just the candy was there, and it was like, oh, Dustin dropped this off, and she was ecstatic that she was able to get that. So,
well, I felt awful dropping the stuff off, because as we're about to see here, the lines, I don't see how they had time to do anything. It was the craziest line at Heroes which was last year or 2022, and I went. Walt Simonson had that same issue where they had set him up in one of those center aisles, and his line was blocking so many booths. And Skottie's at that time, as we're about to see here in a second, it was about 50 in this first image there for Heroes Con 2022. There was roughly, and I tried to spot count them, there were about 15 to 20 people in line. And I went by a couple of times. There may have been longer lines at different periods, but it averaged about 15 to 20 people steady. I mean, it was really steady, but there was like the tables was kind of adjacent to a food area. So people were eating while they were waiting in line there. This year, the center section here, you can't even see. You see the little yellow arrow that I pointed out to you earlier, Tyler? That's Tyler. Tyler was waiting back in line in another time zone. There was so many people in the line. Where you had 2022, 15 to 20, I would be willing to bet that 2024 had anywhere from 60 to 100 people at any given moment.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
You can attest to that, can't you?
Yeah, no, I mean, like I said, I went every day and waited in line, and most of the time, I'd get there right around when they were starting to, or I got there, it was already filled up, but I was like, I'll come back later and get in line. But it was definitely at least 100 people. I waited about like an hour or two, I think most days at the least.
Wow.
Getting up there and I love it, because it's tough waiting in that line, but also at the same time, Skottie's given his attention to each and every single person, and then also, like you said, unfortunately, there's some people who bring in stacks of wagons full of comics and stuff, which that's their prerogative and their thing. So I get it, but yeah, I mean, and like you said, seeing San Diego Comic-Con, it's just, and like you said, it's understandable because it's the biggest convention in the U.S., but it's still just wild to see, especially being as I went back in 2015 when he was at the Gentle Giant booth, and it was a decent line, but nowhere near this amount of people. So.
That's incredible to think of the growth over the last few years and popularity for Skottie. And we've got one of the Skottie fan royalty here. Dre's has joined the group, and I will say, yo, I can't say it with the same excitement I'm sure Dre says it with, but
I'm sure something crazy. So
there's Tyler. Tyler can jump in and help me with that. Yeah, Dre, 100%, man.
Wow.
I was going to say, regardless, that crowd is bananas. Yeah.
Look at Megan's comment. Yeah. 6,000 books.
6,000 books. Well, whenever I would walk by the booth, I would see, and he was talking and signing at the same time, and his signature is so uniform as well. It's not like you were getting a sloppy Skottie signature. You're getting the 100% authentic Skottie signature, but you're also getting the experience that you had and that no telling how many different fans had. And one of the incredible things that Megan had set up was having the private signings with vendors. And they had kicked that out in one of the newsletters. And if I'm not mistaken, it was gone within an hour. They had slots on all 3 days, and they were all filled up really quickly. So the popularity of Skottie, the want for the signatures, and not just that, but the fans, the interactive experience has grown so much that as we see from 2022, where he was popular, to 2024, where you're on a new platform, and then at San Diego Comic-Con, which the fools at San Diego Comic-Con gave him like an hour's worth of time to sign. And as I was reading that, I was thinking, are they capping the booth after like 30 seconds, or what are
exactly.
they?
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, Megan had put that Skottie had said, everybody just calm down. I'm going to stay here until every book's signed, which kind of speaks volumes to, once you get a certain level, you may think become a prima donna or something like that. I think Skottie would be the same if he was signing for 10 people or 10,000 people. So, which is one of the cool things about following him. So,
no, for sure. And that's a tough thing to do. I mean, I can only imagine, and Grant, he's talked about how he uses his whole arm, and it's in his arm that, most people use their wrists, but even still, I mean, he has a limit just like the rest of us do. And, knowingly go into a scene like that and just being like, hey, I've got everybody covered. It's no big deal is awesome. And, being at Heroes again, getting to meet him again and meet Megan and it's just really cool being able to do that. I mean, they're such great folks, such nice people, and they couldn't be more accommodating to the fans. Whereas, like you said, there's some people, that reach that point, and unfortunately, things start to change, and it's harder to get that kind of interaction. So,
and speaking of meeting people, that was 2024 was the first time I got to meet John, which was an incredible experience as well. John's such a low-key great guy to chat with, and unfortunately, it was during one of the vendor signings where Megan and Skottie had went to sign books. Whenever I got to interact with John, and he was manning the booth, and there was people just still flooding the booth. So we only got to chat for about 2 or 3 minutes, but yeah, hopefully in the future it'll go a little bit longer. Calvin
Yeah,
Harlow. Oh,
and
sorry.
I was going to say it's same. Getting to meet John for the first time was great, but like you said, I barely got any time. I didn't get to speak, with him as much as I would have liked. And Megan and Skottie, obviously, all of them. But like you said, they're just so busy doing their thing. So,
well, 2017 New York Comic Con had some good sized lines as well. And I've never been there, but I've heard it's pretty populated, as bad as, or almost as bad as SC or San Diego Comic Con. So I can imagine those lines.
Largest convention next to Comic Con. So
yeah. So well, that and the Comic Con in your back, MegaCon has gotten to the point where I've heard it just keeps getting worse and worse for crowd size.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. I mean, this previous year was absolutely insane, the amount of people. Its numbers are reaching up there. I can't remember exactly what, I think it was like 100,000 plus or something, but it's getting really large.
Did you go? You went this? Is that where you got your Otley this year?
It was, my I Hate Fairyland Otley piece. So
great piece. That was a great piece. Very jealous of that one.
Yeah, that was a kind of a last minute decision out of the blue. So I'm hopefully going to be a little bit more prepared if I want something like that this next one. So,
oh well, now that you kind of see what you're up against, you can go in with a different game plan. Or
exactly, I'm going to be a lot more prepared. I always forget walking into MegaCon how much I want, especially in the artist alley and stuff. It's always just so much good stuff, and being able to see Ryan has become a tradition for me at MegaCon. So
very cool. Seth popped in, another Skottie royalty has popped in, and I think now I can't remember. You have to refresh my memory. Who won in the Seth versus Megan Sweet 16 matchup?
Seth lost to me, unfortunately.
But
his bullseye.
Was it Bullseye versus Magneto and then Bullseye versus Infinity?
I think so. Yeah, I think that was what it was. Yeah, that order.
Okay. I was making sure.
Yeah.
I thought that's what it was because I know him and Megan were going back and forth. Hey, Becker, what's up? But him and Megan were going back and forth with some of the trash talk. And then that one, I really thought, I'm not going to swear to it, but there may have been a stupid fresh mess vote that was incorporated in there, and I can't think if it was that one or another one. And I thought I see a vote for Megan and I see a vote from stupid fresh mess. No, I don't think it was that one. I think it was a different one. But that.
No, I'd like to think one of them's John. John's just like you said, kind of in the shadows, just mysteriously, ominously voting every now and then. So.
Yeah, we're not going to have too many controversies with our Sweet 16 cover March Madness pool, I hope. But that was a lot of fun. I like that format, and hopefully we can do that again this year and possibly even pull them live on a show like this. So that was a lot of fun.
No, that was great. Yeah, that was a blast. When you reached out, I wasn't expecting it. I mean, like you said, when I questioned, or you saw when I questioned it at first, I was confused, and then I was excited because it was awesome being able to pick my own cover. And then, like I said, Megan took Magneto, but thankfully had an Infinity to back it up. But I mean, it's always fun to see everybody's different opinions and different choices, especially babies versus older stuff, or especially if it's something new like Transformers that comes and wipes the floor. So
yeah, that one that was the coolest thing about doing that, because I picked 16 people that I knew that really liked Skottie. Now I'm sure, and I apologize, I left a few people out, but every year I came up, I would ask people for suggestions, and then I would come up with 16, and then I would hear not good-natured griping in the comments. Why did this book get left out? Why did this book get left out? So I thought, I'm not going to pick a single book this year. I'm going to have some fun and let everybody else do it.
You can gripe at them now. So
that's right. And the books that came in were not the covers that I expected. Like, there was the Batman. I really thought the Batman would be one of the ones that would be chosen. Transformers was one of the late books picked, but I was surprised it was still available. And kind of when it got picked, I was thinking this was going to be the winner, just because recency bias usually comes into play for some of those. So, but
it
was
does,
fun.
especially with that one, being the first Transformers cover he's done. I mean, we're getting so many of those recently with Batman and Transformers and TMNT. Oh, not necessarily TMNT, but just it's been a long time since the TMNT cover. Most people don't remember the first one he did. So it's hard to compete when you get, something like that versus a wider selection of baby covers or other things like that. So
well, this year will be definitely harder to pick the cover of the year, because the one that we're fixing to show here in a few minutes is a front runner in my book. But I'm gonna have to step back, and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles could be a hard one. Spider Punk, I mean, I'm just naming the top three that popped in my head. A little bit of foreshadowing for later on, but we're in August. We've still got quite a few months left in the year for books to come out. So unless Skottie decides to take a vacation after Terrificon,
he definitely deserves it. The whole team does. So
yeah, I would say so. If with the packing of the big Marvel books that came out, I'm sure Megan will be so glad when those are all out of the office, because it's probably definitely a tripping hazard in the office now to try to, if a fire were to take place, heaven forbid.
I can't imagine, how many comics total they would have had at any given point with all those covers, especially having both the regular and the 1 in 50 variants. So,
well, the crazy thing too, and I don't know if you saw my comment when Megan had posted that they were available again to the group, but that Skottie had signed each cover with a different color marker that corresponded with that cover.
Yeah, I did. I don't know if I saw that in the post, but I saw in the, which I love, by the way, the ASMR video Megan posted of watch us pack, the box, and just seeing, like you said, all those signatures. I was like, that's, I imagine they've got their setup. They have each of their color markers and the things, but even still, it's a lot of setup time and going through all that. So,
well, to coordinate that many books with all different release dates. And then thank goodness Spider-Gwen finally came out, so they could kind of start getting those sets shipped out. And as Megan had just posted, I can't wait for Big Marvel to be in all your homes. We've been living in madness for 3 months. It's like probably a big Marvel island at the Stupid Fresh Mess office, and they're just hopping from spot to spot. But
I mean, I think about my own apartment here and my own room, because 9 times out of 10, there's just comics and things all over the floor. Because especially as I keep going back each week and getting more, and then I got to read some, and some are set aside. So I can only imagine 10 times that amount at Stupid Fresh Mess. So, and
probably the amount of emails and messages that they're getting. When are the books shipping? When are the books shipping? When are the books shipping? At least you can finally, when she makes a post like that and you see everything getting boxed up, you're like, all right, it's a matter of days now. You're no longer talking weeks to get these in.
She made a good point. I definitely think they should have just called it Big Marvel Madness, not just Big Marvel, because I mean, it is just from the amount of comics that are available and the variants and in the boxes at their place. I mean, I can only imagine, like you said, and having that Spider-Gwen be a bit down the road versus the other ones, how that kind of throws off all that stuff, especially for people who buy the whole set. So,
yeah, and I mean, they really needed, but you had the same people.
That's great. I love that.
Yeah. That is, and the test books that they've shown where he's got his signature on there like 10 times. This isn't let's try 1 or 2. That's Megan makes him run the gauntlet of it. So
I appreciate that, especially with the purples. I'm taking that as Skottie doesn't like the color purple. I could be wrong. I don't want to assume, but I appreciate the length that you go to test out all these colors. So
incredible, absolutely incredible. And hopefully everybody will be tickled to get these. I think we had the drinking game with the word I think tickled is going to be the next thing that gets popped up, because I've said tickled multiple times. But I think everybody will be tickled whenever they get these books in hand, even the ones that were first complaining about, we love Skottie, we want to see more stuff. All right, here's 27 covers, or 54 if you count the black and white. And they're like, whoa, slow down. But everybody will be very happy to get these because they all look really nice in person.
Yeah, they're a great set. And I always love, it's a love-hate relationship, because, especially with you're a Skottie fan, you're going to get all of them, or at least a majority of them. But when they did it with Alex Ross and that, his portraits, and when Skottie announced it, they're so awesome. I'd love to just have just all of them lined up in a row with like the poster above them if I had the wall space. So
Oh, that'd be nice. Yeah. And Ryan has posted that he's already got his Big Marvels box half full of Skotties and the poster hung up. I can't wait for the gatefold cover to complete the set. And Ryan, if you haven't posted, you may have posted that in the group, your Skottie poster hung up, but please feel free to do so. We love seeing that kind of stuff. And Calvin had written, posted, typed, the unique colors always pop on the covers. Agree 100%. And is it true? I saw someone comment today about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle covers that Megan, if you don't know this, you may know this, Tyler, but Megan may be able to help, that Skottie is signing them with different colors as well.
Yeah, I mean, I can't. Yeah, Megan would probably be the best because I just have the foil myself, which has the black signature. But I do think I saw a different color for the regular version, the non-foil. I think maybe had green, if I'm not mistaken. I saw
the green on it. Someone had mentioned orange, that they had got theirs signed in orange. Then someone said, "Oh,
yeah, Calvin."
Yeah. So green on one, red on the other. So orange. Now you're not just going to have to get one of each comic. You're going to have to get one of each signature cover.
Exactly. Yeah. Now I'm upset. If now I'm definitely kicking myself for not getting the regular cover because the chances of getting a blue for my boy Leo. I mean, that if I would have known that was the case, then I definitely would have picked up at least 4. So.
Yeah. Now hindsight's 2020 on that, but yep, all 4 turtle covers on the cover A. Very nice. And the foil is in black, as Megan said. It looked the best by far.
It makes sense. The foils, I'm sure, are hard to. I mean, especially with the reflectivity and the material, I'm sure it's tough to get anything but black to really show up prominently on those. So.
No, I agree. Dre had put the poster is too good, and the con print of the Big Marvel was great. Also, I agree.
Yeah, I want to see a close up of that print. It looked cool. I mean, it looks maybe like 11 by 17, kind of give or take. But I like that it's maybe like a bit more bites. Unfortunately, I can't get my poster up. I just don't have the wall space for it. But I am glad I was at least able to get it. I couldn't get it, unfortunately, from my comic store, but they had it at Heroes, and then I was able to get it signed by Skottie, so it all worked out in the end.
Very cool. All right, real quick, we'll go on to the next page. Tyler, I told you this will probably take about 30 minutes, and we're 52 minutes in and about halfway through the slides, so I apologize for that. My wife's going to be beating on the basement door here in a minute.
I knew we'd be chatting it up, so especially when you got people like Megan and Dre and everybody in the chat, so it makes it a lot more fun.
Yeah. This next slide is just a potential. It's just stupid. I was thinking I want a chart for the convention line size, and because I love spreadsheets and charts and all that good stuff. As you can see, the exponential growth of Skottie's con lines is through the roof, and I'm predicting Terrificon will probably come back down to earth with Heroes a little bit because, as you said, San Diego Comic-Con is such a different beast. But we had to learn a little bit. Let's put a chart in there and feel like we've completed our lesson for the day.
And I want to throw out I want to throw out a sketch idea if Megan can maybe take it down, please, for Skottie. You definitely don't have to if you don't want to, but I love the idea of Dustin on a cover and just being the exponential growth of Skottie and Skottie off to the side, with just a bundle of cash, or I don't know, just something just silly that popped up into my head. So,
and then price it at a range where I can't afford it, so it'll always be out there, but I'll never be able to get it. I picture me with my little pocket protector and my glasses that are broke on there. Going,
there
if we plan this right, Skottie, you can retire at age 60, and we can.
Exactly, you're the financial planner in a sense in this instance.
Yeah, which unfortunately, the more successful Skottie gets, the less money I have in my bank account. So, yeah, that's I'm all for his success, but it's like, my goodness, I also love buying all this stuff. So it's a fun problem to have.
It's a great like you said, we love it. Our wallets maybe don't as much, but it's always super fun getting especially with the packaging. I mean, I just always love getting a Skottie package from Stupid Fresh Mess, and especially even the small things they've introduced, like the packing slips. I got Cody now, so I'm like, all right, I got 3 out of the 4 or 5 possible Pokemon kind of a deal. So
gotta catch them all, my man.
Exactly, and then frame that up and have them all lined up there. So,
well, out of just pure, this is why I don't play the lottery, among other reasons. I've got 15 Johns, and I love John. John's my boy, but I've got 15 Johns, so
I
it's
hear you.
okay.
Yeah, I think I've got 5. I think I got 6 or 7 of John so far. So
Hey, if I just keep getting Johns, at least that means I'm getting more Skottie product. I'm happy. I'm not going to sweat it too much, but
exactly.
it is fun to. I've seen other people pull up the Megans and the Cody now, and I can't remember where I saw it, but I think I saw a Skottie, and it's like that's like Willy Wonka getting your golden ticket and getting to tour the Super Fresh Mess office if you get the Skottie tag.
Well, that's how I felt when I posted mine. I think it was with my I Hate Fairyland book set where I got Megan finally. But then Megan commented, or Super Fresh Mess commented and said, well, that's actually Skottie's handwriting writing out Megan. So it was like a hidden prize, Skottie signing Megan's name, which I thought was hilarious. That's why I told her I need Skottie's name now, but just with Megan's handwriting to complete the set. So
I wonder. So Megan was packing, and Skottie had the blank thing, so he signed her name on it.
I guess so. Yeah, I guess
pretty cool.
It just lined up with one time. So,
but now you'll have to take that to one of the conventions and get him to sign his name below it, just so you can make it even more special. So,
yeah, I'll probably get them all to sign the one, kind of like I did the hat. That's still probably my favorite is getting all 3 of them to sign the hat there. So Skottie, John, and Megan. So.
I like it. I love it. Ryan had said the key was to get my wife and kid to fall in love with Skottie too. Yeah, conditioning. Yes, that's what we call it. Do some type of inception level get them in there. To just got the Peter Parker statue this weekend and waiting for the Avengers, an unoriginal art print. Awesome. Well played. Yeah, if you could send us some lessons or post some lessons online on how to do that so I can get my wife and kids. Although my son, the 2022, the Skottie, there was a Spider-Man print that he really wanted and he really liked and to hang in his bedroom. And I thought, I've got the gateway here. And then he'd rather play video games and that kind of stuff. Oh, here we got the backstory here. Skottie was talking to me while we packed, so I put him to work and he filled out a bunch of packing slips for me.
I love that.
That's why she's the boss.
Being like, hey, if you're here, can you help out, please? Here's some packing slips, here's the pen, get to work. So
yeah, let's count the number of hands that are doing something and the number of hands that aren't, and let's put those hands that aren't to work. So Megan, I have a feeling Megan runs a tight ship.
It's understandable. I mean, you need somebody to keep people in line like Megan, because I would be like Skottie. I would just be yapping and talking, and then it'd be like an hour, and I wouldn't have done anything, and then been like, oh, whoops, that's on me. So.
Yeah, 100%. My boss one time got me a sign for my office that said, "Please leave me alone so I can do my work, instead of yours." Because people come in and are always chatting with me and trying to talk. I feel like Lucy from the Peanuts, and the office is the doctor's in type thing. Because I love talking about it, anything and everything, and I suffer from that same condition.
Yeah. No, you and I are the same, that way. Unfortunately, a sign wouldn't work for my room because I tend to wander to other people's offices to talk to them. So I would just have to have it on my back, unfortunately. So
leave me alone, please.
Yeah, kick me back to work, please.
Yeah. Well, we'll get off this fun chart now that everybody's got a chance to enjoy. I think every time we do this, I will have one chart, Tyler. That will be my mission to do this. How ridiculous we can make it. We will definitely do that. Seth, I agree. I definitely need the rare packed by Skottie variant. I think that's what Megan's going to have one variant that Skottie, the only one that can pack that variant is Skottie. So you're guaranteed to get it, but that also takes some of the fun out of it too, I'd say.
I would like the idea of the golden ticket. I just imagine the office where Michael has that same thought and slips it in different packages and.
Yep. Yeah, that would. You're onto something with that. Could you imagine opening up a golden ticket and being like, all right, you get to tour the facility office, and you're thinking,
the freshman office. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I'd be like, wife, I'll see you next week. I've got to drive out to the middle Midwest and pray that it's not tornado season. So
exactly. I'll be back when I get back.
Yeah. The kids can take care of themselves. They're good kids. Skottie talk. I read the. I've now I'm becoming Ron Burgundy. We went from Ricky Bobby to Ron Burgundy. The next slide here deals with Ain't No Grave, issue 4. It did not take a long time to read, but it took a long time to, and I believe it might have been Dr. Tracy that had used the word absorb the art from Jorge. And I had commented on this one. I would love to see Skottie's script on this that he wrote out. And if I was Skottie, I would never show anybody my scripts because there's so many people that are grammar Nazis out there and people that are wanting to, pick out every little thing that you phrase that you put wrong. But it would be incredible to see how much direction that he gave Jorge on this script, because even though it wasn't completely wordless, it was 99.9% wordless. It was a very powerful issue that dealt with depression. So what was your thoughts on it, Tyler?
No, it was great. I mean, like you said, Tracy had the right words for it, absorbed. Especially I find myself, blasting through comics quickly, getting absorbed in the words themselves. But this one, the first time I read through, I knew what to be prepared for. So I took my time and just really tried to absorb each panel. I mean, and it's so hard not to with Jorge's, art. His stuff is just so, is it George or is it, now I feel like I'm
Jorge.
Is it Jorge Rivera or
Corona for that?
Corona, yeah. I think I'm mixing up words. It's getting to be that time of night for me. So
that's all. You're fine, man.
But it's like you said, it'd be interesting to see the correlation between what Skottie, wrote, and especially being an artist, he's talked about it before, where he knows as an artist to sometimes let the artists themselves kind of take, the work themselves and see what they come up with and how they interpret it. And I wouldn't be surprised if this was kind of a similar way where it was less is more kind of with the words, but with the art, just letting him take it in stride. And it's just, the whole series is just it's just crazy. This team, they just continue to hit for me every time they come out with a new comic. I'm always looking forward to it, no matter the genre, no matter the amount of comics in it, whatever it is, I'm always generally there for it, just because everything they've put out so far has just been so personable and so rich, both in the writing and in the art, that it's always, the journey is just always super fun. And this is, no difference. Like you said, I've been there each time they've been dropping. Normally I'll go maybe once a month or so to the comic store to collect my covers or maybe some of the stuff that I'm reading. But with I Hate Fairyland and then also now Ain't No Grave, I'm like, I want the newest one right now. I want to be able to read this and digest it and get to it. So
you're exactly, and to think, if I'm not mistaken, whenever they had their launch party for Ain't No Grave, and Skottie told a little bit of the backstory, the personal story that kind of built into this the telling of the 5 issues, because I know I'd asked the question back during that live stream that Skottie and Jorge had on, and Nate, would there be I know this is a 5-issue run. We knew Twig was a 5-issue run, but there's going to be a second volume of that. Will there be a second volume of Ain't No Grave? And he pretty much closed the book on that and said, this is a complete story, all 5 issues. And so far, the 5 stages of grief that he's encountered with each issue, the denial, anger, bargaining, and then finally with this one, depression, which is all leading up to the 5th issue, which drops September 11th at your local comic shop, acceptance. So the question I'd asked you in our pre-show when we were chatting, what do you think the conclusion will be? Not story-wise, but do you think this will have a fairy tale ending, or do you think this will have a, kick you in the gut, reality-based ending that will, as I referred to it earlier, as a Joss Whedon style ending, where you're left feeling kind of melancholy about the issue?
Yeah, my response to that was, especially the Joss Whedon, was like, oh no, like just knowing how some of those characters and stories ended. But
I'll never forgive him for Wash. That
I know, it
kills me to this day.
It's so funny too, not to sidetrack too much, but what I find hilarious, and I'll give 2 instances of it, is watching Firefly for the first time. I remember not really enjoying it, and then giving it another go and realizing how dumb I was and how such a great series it was, and then being able to introduce my family. But it was the same way for Wall-E, and Wall-E is such a great comparison to this, where that movie generally has no dialogue except for, saying Wall-E and Eve, and then finally we get people at the end of the movie. And again, just not liking that a lot, not really, it didn't click with me, but then it finally clicking with me. But going back, to Ain't No Grave and how it ends, thinking back to the Me You Love in the Dark, Middle West, even Twig, the past to work. Excuse me. I think a lot of the stories they work on kind of end almost in a bittersweet kind of way. It's, it's not terrible, but it's not, necessarily happy in some instances. It may just kind of, but they always feel right. That's always my thing. It's like the ending feels so right for the story that they've come up with. And I feel it'll be the same with Ain't No Grave. I feel it'll be a bittersweet ending. But the tale, of the characters we've met so far and the journey they've been on and all that stuff, I think it'll be fitting. So.
Well, that's a good answer. And I love your comparison to Wall-E, because one thing about Wall-E, without the dialogue being just kind of distracting, it forces you to look at the surroundings, to pay more attention to the subtle actions of the characters that are going on. And I think that's one of the things I noticed about this issue too, is a lot of times when you're reading a book that's very gripping, you're jumping from dialogue to dialogue because you want to know what happens next, what pushes the story along. This forces you to kind of start with one edge of the panel and work your way all the way through, and to notice every little detail that Skottie or Jorge, whichever one had came up with that detail, poured into this book for you to pay attention to. And it ultimately leads with the big reveal at the end of the issue, which I won't spoil in case anybody hasn't read it, which is going to kick off the final issue, issue 5, which you've said kind of what you thought. I think it's going to be a Joss Whedon, cut off your left arm, but make you feel hopeful because you still have your right arm type ending to it. And this is one of the things that, see if it pops up. I pulled this up a few minutes before we went it live and added this to a banner just so I could use this during this. But the final phase of grief is acceptance. This stage signifies a turning point. Everybody loves being read to, too. This stage signifies a turning point where individuals begin to embrace the reality of their loss and find a way to move forward with their lives. So as I read that middle section there, where they begin to embrace the reality of their loss and find a way to move forward with their lives, I think it's going to be a bittersweet ending.
I'm just reacting to Megan. Megan's having to head out. Yes, have a great night. Go do the laundry. Seriously, thanks for joining. I mean, it's so fun to have, again, that's been such a great experience being part of this group and stuff, is getting to meet people like Megan and John and the other people who, are part of the Skottie Stupid Fresh Mess experience, and just being able to kind of, know them a little bit more on a first name basis and say hi, and being able to talk to them at Heroes Con. So.
Yes, it is one of the perks of and as kind as they are and as much time as they take for their fans, it's very meaningful when they're interacting with you. They're doing it because they want to and not because it's a business or they're trying to sell you something. And Megan has used the word her Skottie family, like at these conventions and stuff, and getting to see people and friends. That's the way it feels whenever you're interacting with them. You don't feel like a fan anymore, even though you still are. You feel like you're just part of the group. So thank you for stopping by, Megan, or stopping by. We're going over an hour now. You've been hanging with us for a while.
Well, she said she'll watch the rest later. So, I mean, it's appreciated, because like you said, you don't have to, we don't expect necessarily anybody to watch this. We're not selling, anything to anybody. We're just, chatting and hoping people who also want to chat join in and talk with us and share in that, affinity for Skottie. So
exactly. Yeah. The only thing we're really trying to sell, Tyler, is more Skottie stuff at his shop, because the more stuff we sell, the more stuff he can put out. So you're doing a great
job. You've got the blurbs down at the bottom, the links down at the bottom. I mean, you're up there with Megan in terms of running the show. So
yeah, we do what we can.
yeah.
Try to keep this boat going because and I'm sure without me this boat would go fine. This is like a well-oiled machine with Megan. Megan keeps it running, and we're thankful for all she does and all that John does. And Cody, from as many tags as I've seen from him popping up, it looks like he's rolled up his sleeve and jumped right in with the crew there at Stupid Fresh Mess. So
yeah, no, for sure, it's yeah.
Our next slide will be this is one of the coolest covers that I've seen in a while. Out of a long list of covers that have came out that look really cool. One I didn't bring out here, Tyler, that I meant to was the Iron Man cover, where Tony.
Yes, that is such a great
cover.
Yeah, I'm a huge, and especially because I always bring this up just because I find it incredibly hilarious. But I'm a huge Iron Man fan, and I've been, before the movies, I was really into his comics. There's just something about, armor and suits like that I've always just been attracted to or find fascinating. So I loved Iron Man. When we got him as our first MCU movie, I was just ecstatic. And anything Skottie draws is always awesome, though he doesn't enjoy drawing Iron Man, which I always find funny and like bringing up just because I think it's hilarious. But he doesn't like drawing all the details and all that stuff, which I get. But that cover is just, I cannot wait. That's definitely up there in my top 5, maybe even top 3 covers, I'd say, for his Iron Man ones, especially the baby covers. So
yes, and when that OA goes up for sale, I will be trying to jump on that one as quickly as possible.
Yeah, that's a good call. Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, that probably will come up. I hadn't even thought about that, so that's good to keep in the back of my mind now. So
yeah, I'll always be thinking about that kind of stuff. Gotta. All right. Oh yeah, Dre. Iron Man covers a def must. I agree. Love it. But I digress. This cover is not too shabby itself. This is the first Baby Gert cover by Skottie, and this. I've seen different things from this one, whether it's a ratio cover or not. I was able to pre-order. It didn't say ratio whenever I pre-ordered it on previews, both covers, but I'm hoping they're not ratios, just so I can get multiple copies of this one, because this is one that I would definitely want to get graded, and hopefully the Skottie shop will have this one up. Dustin is faster than the rest of us. Yeah, it's really not. I just try to have everything saved and ready to go. As Tyler saw, my internet earlier was me spinning a lot and freezing up, so I just get lucky sometimes, Seth. But yeah, you're a huge Gert fan. You're a huge I Hate Fairyland fan. What was your reaction when you saw this?
No, it's just fantastic. Yeah, it's just such a great cover, both for the fact that it's the first baby Gert we got, and the fact that I always love when they change the speech bubbles, for different variants, and especially the fact that it continues on. I've only seen it a few times, especially with Skottie's stuff. The one that pops to mind is that Deadpool one where it's, it's the one speech bubble with Spider-Man, and it's talking about how 1992 is a great year. But I love this one for the fact that she continues to talk like, all right, like, everything's gone, the title, color, everything's left. Like, you don't got to keep holding me up here. So, and I always love Skottie drawing himself. I'd be curious. I'm sure he probably doesn't. I don't know. Maybe he's indifferent. I could assume he'd be like, I guess I'll draw myself, kind of a deal. But I just love how you can go from, as a cover we'll eventually see here shortly, the baby version of himself versus this more scruffy, rough version with the beard and the hair is just sticking out everywhere. It's just so great. And I love the fact that and we had kind of talked about this beforehand, but I was able to see this actually at Heroes Con. I got a sneak preview. Skottie was like, hey, do you want to see something? I was like, yeah, sure. And he just pulls us out. I was like, that's an amazing cover. But I loved it because Skottie said that it was the first cover he's done that his kids were interested in because of the Disney connection, because of the Lion King connection. So I just always think that's funny, his kids being like, yeah, your stuff's okay, but then doing something like this, it's like, oh, it's Lion King, that's really cool. I like that. So
I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he even referenced the song that's played right here. during this when Mufasa.
Yeah.
Just every time I see this cover now, I hear that, which I won't try to reenact it because it'd be horrible and make your ears bleed. But that's what pops in my mind every time I see this cover, and it's so great. I'll ask you this question here in a minute. But Seth broke my heart. The 110 it's a 110 ratio for color and 125 for black and white. So I'm gonna have to go cancel all my previews order and then hopefully pick it up at the Skottie shop if they release any of them, which will be great because I just if I could just get one graded, like the graded copies of both of them, I'd be good. That's the reason I was ordering multiples to try to get a good grade on it. All right, that brings us up to this one. The missionary. I saw this cover when Skottie shared it on Instagram, and before I even knew what the book was about, I went and pre-ordered. I think I pre-ordered 4 copies of this one, and apparently it has a really good bound on it. And then I ordered one of the cover A by I believe by Howard, and one of the cover B by Stegman. And I thought, okay, this is going to be a new book. Then I went to Stegman's Instagram, and he had 2 different posts. And I checked this during our break, Tyler, and there was 14 panels is what it was between the 2 different posts. One had 9 and one had 5. And holy cow, or unholy cow.
Yeah.
This is not a, as I referred to Tyler earlier, this is not an I Hate Fairyland book. This might get a mature rating, Tyler. I'm not sure, but it might get mature.
Yeah, it's well past the colorful kind of coating or puff that I Hate Fairyland kind of tiptoes around, some of this stuff. It just full blown gets right into it. And like you said, I mean, you told me about the Instagram post, and I had known about the title previously. I follow Ryan, and so I saw it coming up, and like you, I was interested in it and was maybe going to keep an eye out on it. And then Skottie posted his cover, and I was like, that's just great. I was just laughing, just reading the speech bubble. I was like, okay, well, this is intense, as intense as I would have imagined. And then like you said, I read the Instagram panels, and it was just, yep.
Intense. That's a good word, intense.
So, no, it's
The
definitely going to
craziest
be.
thing about it, I think, was that the main character kept saying the word flip. That was about the cleanest thing that could be repeated during this. But
yeah, I like to think about are people who cover, the F word on their I Hate Fairyland, covers, the kind of coverage shows to not show it. The whole comic would have to be covered if anybody were to share it. So,
with the redacted statements that's in this cover here, I thought they were hiding spoilers when I first saw it. I really thought, I didn't read it. It was too small for me to read before I pre-ordered it. And I thought, oh man, stupid me. I thought this is a new Marvel book. This are new characters. They're hiding. They don't want to give away the plot. I didn't even pay attention to the title. I didn't pay attention to that there wasn't a Marvel icon on it. I went and I thought, all right, missionary, that must be some type of new Marvel superhero that they're doing. My mind wasn't connecting until I actually read the panels. I thought, this isn't Marvel. This is a whole different story than what I was expecting. But as Seth said, I guess these are, whenever I'd read that they were bound, he says they're more like the size of magazines. So that makes sense.
Yeah, I had seen some in chat with him as well, and yeah, I saw that was going to be the case because how to keep books like this that are not the normal size. I don't have a box, so this will have to go outside of it. But I mean, I love it. I love that he's doing these wraparound covers. I mean, it's just so fun to play with both the back and the front. And I commented on their post too when they posted it, but this is hands down one of my favorite self drawings of Skottie. The fact that you can even see his Calvin and Hobbes tattoo, like it's so abstract and small, but it's just such a nice detail. And the way he drew his beard, I was just like, I love that. That's definitely hands down one of my favorite Skottie drawings. So
great point. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because I forgot to even jot that down. But the tattoos were such a nice detail to this one. So yeah, it's really good. And the look on Skottie's face was the look I had after reading panel number 14 all the way through. So
yeah, it's
really
it
looking
all
forward to get this one.
gives me preacher vibes for sure.
Yeah, and that was one of the books that one of the books that it was like comparative to in previews. Was the Preacher was the first one that was listed there.
Yeah, it's definitely has that similar vibe. So
all right, next topic, we got our private signing with Skottie, and I'm not sure when this is going to take place, but we do know that the deadline is next Friday, August 23rd. So Tyler has got his book ready to go. So hopefully beats the deadline. And thankfully, Skottie's been faithful about doing these about once a year. So if you do miss out on this one, please jump in on the next one. But there's still plenty of time. I put I can't remember the gentleman's name that was in our group that had asked for someone to contact him, and I put step by step of where to go to fill it out. And I've got one more box ready to send in, and just make sure whenever you do to put the SY on all sides of your boxes, just so they make sure, because I guess whenever they get the boxes in, they prioritize the ones that have the letters on them. So make sure to put your SY on the cover on every single side of the box that you're shipping in.
Yeah. I was going to ask you too, because I tried looking a few places for box size, but do they accept the Gemini mailers, or does it need to be in an actual like thicker size box?
I always ship these in just because I usually have more than one book in there, but I could imagine Gemini. I'm sure there wouldn't be any reason why they wouldn't, as long as you label the initials of whichever artist you're sending it in for. Yeah, I'd say Gemini would be fine, and especially, I mean, you're probably an hour or two away from them there, so it would be a short trip for you at Sarasota. From where you live. So yeah, I think a Gemini would be fine just to get it in the mail, to get it there in time, and especially you're doing the sketch, the remark. So
yeah, I just got the one, so that's why I was like, I hate to put it in a box and have to fill it with a whole bunch of stuff to keep it packed and safe. But yeah, I'm sending in my extra haunted mansion that I have,
nice.
Going back to a previous conversation we had about favorite Disney rides. I just thought it'd be really cool to get him to do Ezra Bean, my favorite of the Hitchhiking Ghost, on there. It was between this one and an I Hate Fairyland, so I'll save. I do have the pink cover, so I'll save that for next time and get a Gert or Larry sketch on that. So
very well, yeah. I think that's a good game plan. And speaking of I Hate Fairyland, I didn't mention this earlier when we were talking about how Jorge's been killing it, but Brett Bean has been doing such an awesome job picking up for Skottie.
Yeah. It was one of those things where I was saddened to see that Skottie wouldn't be doing the art, but then when he started sharing Brett's initial sketches and everything, I was like, oh, this is so cool. It fits so well. It's I Hate Fairyland, but it's somebody else's style, but still fitting in that same world. And I feel terrible. I've got to get it framed, but I bought an original page of I Hate Fairyland from Brett end of last year. So I definitely want to get more, because his stuff is just, especially some of the double page spreads. I really like the one with Gert as the big dragon. As I was looking at, I check on it every now and then because it still hasn't sold, and I'm like, it'd be really cool to get that set. So
well, I don't check on that one in particular, but I do go to his original art section and check it out. And yeah, there's been a few that I've been close to pulling the trigger on, and then I come back later and they're sold. So,
and he's great too, because he'll run the sales, on his website, and that applies to his original art as well. That's how I sold me on getting the original piece end of last year. Was he ran the deal, and his prices are incredibly reasonable for stuff. It's kind of like that stuff you brought up with Skottie, where it's almost kind of the ground floor. I mean, he's I'm sure going to get more and more popular. I would at least hope so. I mean, his art deserves it for sure. And even his own stuff, his new series that he's done is just really fun. He's got some of this same kind of wacky, fun vibes that Skottie does. So it's not a surprise they connected on I Hate Fairyland.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine some of the direction that other artists would have taken with Gert and Fairyland. To me, that was almost seamless, like going from Skottie the end of issue 20 to issue 1 of volume 2. so I agree. I hope Brett stays on for a while, and at least this volume keeps going. I don't know where Skottie has titled this one the end game. Uh, if it's going to end where volume one ended, issue number wise, but uh, with it being Skottie's first creator-owned property, this is one that I hope has a legacy life to it that just keeps coming back, circling back for more. So we'll definitely find out.
See that, like you said, I mean, it's with the new arc that he's got coming up. He's still got ideas there, and I mean, it's such a fun playground that it's I'm sure easy enough in a sense to be able to pick up and pivot and do different kinds of things within this world. So like you said, as much as I love the short run series like Ain't No Grave and Middle West and the other ones, I like being able to get a weekly comic from Skottie and Brett. So
me too. I agree 100%. And speaking of that, I mean, it hasn't been revealed yet, but whenever they did the Ain't No Grave, or I can't remember if it was that one, they revealed that there was another story coming up between Jorge and Skottie in the future.
Yes.
So, and it was their favorite. Like, I can't remember if Skottie or Jorge or both of them said, but it was like their favorite one of all the jobs they did together. So I'm really looking forward to seeing that one being revealed and what kind of genre they go into now, since they've touched on a couple of different ones at this point.
Yep. Yeah, like it's always, I mean, there's still so much untreaded ground that I mean, it could kind of go anywhere at this point. So like you said, I'm excited to see this team continue. I'm glad that they're enjoying it and having a blast, and that shows in the work that they put out. So
exactly. All right. Now this is the part where everybody tunes out and we just talk for about 10 minutes here. If you don't know, if it hasn't been revealed yet enough, but Tyler lives in Orlando area where a magical place called Disney happens to exist. And there was a big event this past weekend called D23, where a lot of stuff was revealed about the new movies, the new parks, new TV shows, just all kinds new musicals, all kinds of fun stuff that kind of bleeds over into the Skottie's fun characters, his imagination. You can't get much more imaginative than the world of Disney. And I asked Tyler, I said, hey, you want to chat about some of the new attractions coming to Orlando so I can pick your brain on what you're looking forward to and that? And he's like, yep, me and my wife watched the D23 live announcements live. So I picked the right man for this one. So any thoughts on D23 before we get into this?
Yeah, I mean, the general overall thoughts were, it's sad that they didn't stream, because normally they'll stream it officially. They'll have their own stream that you can watch. And unfortunately this year they didn't. And mainly it seems, because people are paying more to go to there. So they're wanting to, make it, I guess, a rich experience for them. But as people pointed out online, it's silly because it's just a giant commercial for the property. I mean, the whole point of D23 is it's a show to get people excited and interested in what's coming to the park. So why you wouldn't stream that to everybody is beyond me, especially when you've got, Universal and Epic Universe banging on your door, saying, hey, we've got a whole new park with 5 new areas. What's your answer to that? People have been waiting. It was all right. I didn't really have any expectations. My wife, who actually works on theme park rides and stuff, not Disney, but a company here that does theme park rides, she's always been into them, has loved them growing up. So she was mainly the one watching and taking in everything. And I like getting her opinion because she's definitely got one, especially with how Disney's been going lately. But, I think there were some hits. I think there were some misses. I think the biggest takeaway was there was way too much singing during this presentation. Like, that's the
singing. A lot of singing. There was a lot of singing.
Yeah, it encompassed like 2/3 of the presentation, and unfortunately it makes sense. They unfortunately don't have a whole lot to unveil. So rather than have just a quick, tight 30-minute presentation, hey, let's drag it out and entertain people and pump up the wow factor. Though I will say the Deadpool stuff was absolutely hilarious, and I greatly enjoyed that person coming out and being able to talk with Josh D'Amaro and do all that. So that was hilarious.
Okay. Any of the new movies that kind of piqued your interest on that they announced, or that maybe not announced, but really teased more?
Ease, yeah. No, yeah, for sure. It's a lot of sequels, and I get, it's definitely tiring, but unfortunately, it's what continues to make them money and stuff. But there's some that I'm really looking forward to. I love Moana. I'm really glad that we're getting a Moana 2. Whether or not we need it, that's kind of a. I don't think any sequel generally is needed unless it's like Lord of the Rings. Yes, those were needed because they're three separate books. It makes sense, but Moana told its story and then, it finished. But I'm looking forward to that one. I'm really looking forward to Zootopia. I absolutely love Zootopia. It's one of my favorite animated movies. The fact that Japan or Shanghai Disney got its own Zootopia park makes me really upset. I wish we would get that here.
Very jealous. Yeah.
But the world building in that and just the animals and everything, it was just such a fun world. So I'm excited to see them explore more of that. And then lastly, Incredibles 3. I love The Incredibles. I think it's some of the strongest Pixar work, which it's funny because my wife does not enjoy those movies at all, which
Definitely
is fine.
In the minority on that. Yeah.
Yeah, to each their own, but it's just the family aspect combined with superheroes was just such a great thing. I see Callie. Yeah. I see you posted the Stitch. Yeah, unfortunately for me, I'm not liking any of the live action stuff. It's just so tough. I get why they're doing it, but they unfortunately started off on a bad note with me because Jungle Book is hands down like in my top 3, maybe top 1 animated movies of all time. So the live action just didn't hit with me, unfortunately, and I think it's mainly just that they need to put more life into these characters. Like we just need more. Like they're supposed to be real, but it's still a CG animated character. Like just give me a little bit more expression. Give me a little bit more life to these characters. So.
Yeah, and I guess there's limitations of what you can do with live action versus, then there's been, and they're okay. We wouldn't watch the Lion King, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, Little Mermaid. I mean, we've watched all those, but there's something about popping in the old animated version of them that to me it's just different. Stitch is a little different. Stitch is kind of the go-to Disney movie at our house, so everybody's really excited to see the live-action Lilo and Stitch. But at the same time, I'm hoping it doesn't kind of fall prey to the other issues that you were just discussing about some of the live-action ones that Disney has put out. And Snow White, I was kind of surprised. I know that there was a lot of controversy around Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, the casting of that. And then whenever I saw the little teaser from D23, and all the Seven Dwarfs characters were kind of computer CGI animated, I thought, well, this is not what I thought it was supposed to be. I thought they were doing a certain type of blind casting to the dwarfs. So I was a little confused about that one. I'm not sure what the controversy was over it to begin with a year ago when it got delayed. But with 4 kids in the house, we'll probably see all these live action movies. But I don't get as excited for them as some of the animated ones. The Toy Story 5, which sounds like they're going up against electronics. Incredibles 3.
Yeah, not to interject, the Toy Story 1, and kind of I'll kind of sum up the live action stuff too. But I think you made a good point. The ones for me, because I did actually enjoy Beauty and the Beast and Aladdin, the ones I find myself enjoying more so are the ones that generally deal with humans. So that transition from animated to live action doesn't feel as jarring, but when you've got a movie like Jungle Book or Lion King where they're all animated animals, and then you get to the realistic versions, they call it, real, but they're still just CG. That's generally where I just feel it kind of loses some of that magic. These hand-drawn animations from, the classic, Disney animators. It's just so tough to beat. I think we get tied up, and especially being in the game industry, it's the same way where we keep pushing realism and seeing how far we can take things, which, again, it's to each their own, but I'm more of this Skottie Young. I want to see, the stylized, the silly, the zany, the stuff you can't, do. And I think there's great adaptations, Sonic as being one of them. I think the way they adapted Sonic was great after they, of course, redid the character.
After, yes.
And that's the thing is if Disney would would take their characters that existed and sonicified them, did that extra little bit, punched up the colors, punched up the animation, I think it would be a bit better. But yeah, exactly. The live action, yeah, Lion King, because that's exactly it. None of it's live; it's all CG. But I think I think Stitch will be. I'm still cautiously optimistic. At least more so for that than Mufasa, which I don't really have any interest in seeing. But no, yeah, the animated films, like you said, is where I'm most interested. Complete Sonic Nightmare feel, yeah, 100%.
Well, the one that bothered, have you've seen all the Bill Murray Garfield movies, and the kids. I hate to even sully the name of Disney and bring up that other studio with Garfield, but those are really bad movies, and it bothers me that Garfield is CGI and Odie's a dog. It's which is it's a talking cat. To me, it's like the kids don't care, but to me, it bothers me. Like if you're going to go CGI, go full CGI. Don't cheap out and just do the one character like that.
You have exactly, yeah. So
I pick wheels to die on. That's one I'll stand by.
No, exactly, yeah. But funny you bring that up and I hadn't caught it, but for the Toy Story 5, they did a teaser and they had the title come in and they had Woody, Buzz, and Jesse, and they each ran up to their camera and did like an animation and then kind of went off screen. Well, funny enough, it turns out that they had actually just reused the same animations from Apple Watches of those characters, exact same things, and they compared them side by side. Which, again, being in the game industry, when we have to do stuff like, especially putting out a teaser like this, sometimes you just got to put together something quick because 9 out of 10 people aren't going to notice that kind of stuff. But being as somebody likes the behind the scenes and all that kind of stuff, I thought it was hilarious that was the case, that was just a reuse of these Apple Watch animations.
That's pretty funny. I didn't realize that either. I'm glad you said that. But the realization, and you said you brought this up about the video games, and gosh, I don't want to misattribute this. I think it was Mark Brooks, and this isn't anything bad, but there was an artist that could paint it was like painting people, and it was so realistic that you couldn't distinguish it from a photograph. And I want to say it's Mark. It just brought up the point, at a certain point when you can't distinguish it from a photograph, is it still art, or is it just like there's not really, and he didn't say this, I'm kind of interjecting this, but there's no imagination to it at all. It's just being able to perfectly copy or mimic something which is an incredible talent. I can't do it, but it doesn't have anybody's own personal flair, which kind of goes over to the overall point of AI, stealing a lot of the patterns and styles of these artists. You could see why they would be very offended with it, because there's no creativity involved. It's just mimicking an art and then bending it to create whatever you're wanting to create at that moment. But it's never really yours. It's never really something that you created.
Yeah, no, that's a whole. I could go down a deep, dark rabbit hole of my feelings toward that. But no, I mean, it's exactly it, and that's why I just prefer stuff like Skottie's work. Him putting his own twist on baby characters, or just the stylization. I like, because I like seeing the world through other people's eyes, and especially this stuff we're getting now. Again, it'll get to a point where I'm sure people will be like, all right, we're tired of this. But Elio, and even the new I think it was the Beaver movie. Hopper. That comic, the style it takes from Spider-Verse that really kickstarted this whole phase we're going through now with TMNT and stuff. But I just absolutely love that. I mean, it's just such a cool, the fact that you could take pretty much any single one of those frames and you would almost think it's 2D is just so cool to me. Especially because I like bridging that gap between technical and art. I'm more of a 3D artist. I'm not the worst 2D artist, but I'm definitely not the greatest. And that's just because I don't practice it. I just need to practice it. But 3D for some reason clicked more with me. So being able to see tools that create, ink outlines and can do stuff like that and enhance, the art or add the halftone patterns and that kind of stuff. It's just really cool that intrigues me way more than seeing, Mufasa. And like you said, not to say that there isn't skill and technique and art put
Yeah.
behind it. But like you said, if we're chasing real life, so like it, and unfortunately we've gotten so far in technology, but it's still to that point where I can discern the difference between an image still from Lion King versus a real life image of a lion. So until we get to that like main point, or unless it's that close, I'm like, well, if why do it? Because there's live action lion movies we have there, that we can get, and honestly, it all comes down to my main thing is you just need to bridge that gap. You need to have the practical and the digital to mirror seamlessly to blend those two worlds. Because when you're just throwing in a CG character, it's always, I feel like, going to be a lot tougher to ground it and bring it into that world. But Guillermo del Toro on Pacific Rim, creating the entire interior of a robot's head is so unnecessary, but it makes that world so much more believable. And then when you skip to those CG robots, you're like, oh yeah, they're in there. Like that's, they're in there.
Segue back to Skottie with that. Whenever they did the Me You Love in the Dark, I listened on my way to Heroes and back. I listened to several podcasts that Megan and Skottie had listed out there. And one of the interviews that they did, they were talking about Skottie or Jorge actually constructing a full architectural build of a house.
Yeah.
And things you would never see in the comic, but they wanted to have that built there so they'd be able to explain the story a little better and the flow of the house and everything like that. And was it necessary to build the whole house and have blueprint and have the architectural plans? Well, yes, for this story, I would say it was just to be able to tell the story they were trying to tell. And you're exactly right, Del Toro, with that same technique for Pacific Rim. Was it necessary? A lot of directors and a lot of creators would probably say, "No, we could skip that. That's people are going to be focused more on the story." But when you get details like that sucks you into the story so much that you can't even break. Am I watching a movie or am I living a movie? That goes the extra step, and that's what makes a masterpiece, a movie that you want to watch again because you didn't just watch it, you lived it while you were watching it. Same thing with the book. Some of the books that Skottie has written, you experience with all the different characters that go through them.
No, that's exactly it. And honestly, that's my prime example of that is always the Lord of the Rings movies versus the Hobbit films, because all those were all directed by Peter Jackson. They all had Weta, working on props and stuff and whatnot. But there's a clear difference between those two because one was such a great blend between the practical and real, whereas one of them, the other, is mostly CGI, and it's very noticeable. And it's and granted, there's other issues, taking a small book and making it 3 movies so unnecessarily, but at least just visually, one of those feels way more grounded and real versus the other. So, I think in games we've hit that wall of, for the most part, of hitting realism now. So now it's not so much of, now the focus is becoming less and less that, and more so back to, well, hey, let's just write a good story, or let's make good mechanics for a game. So, hopefully we'll get to that point. And I think we are, with movies and stuff as well. I'm sure it's a roller coaster and up and down depending on the technology and stuff, but getting more stuff like Spider-Verse, getting more stuff like Elio or Hopper,
Well, I'll say this one thing before we jump to the attraction, since I feel like I'm keeping you longer than what I promised. But the one you said you couldn't tell the difference between, or you could tell the difference between the Lion King live action lion versus a real lion. I'll tell you one thing that fooled me, and this is kind of gullible and makes me feel like an idiot. But when the first Lego movie came out, I was so impressed with the stop animation that they did with that. And then I found out later it was all computer animated. I thought, you mean someone didn't? I really pictured them doing the little, all right, freeze frame, move his leg, freeze frame. I thought, man, could you imagine how much detail? And then I was heartbroken whenever I realized, no, it's not stop animation. That's actual computer.
Those movies are great examples of ones that did it so well. And honestly, again, I mainly work on 3D environments is what I work on with video games. So like making props and stuff. So, but I've touched on a lot of things in different art fields, but I really do think a lot of it comes down to the lighting and just being able to light something properly to get it to mimic, the realism. And if, and being an artist, it's easier to tell like, oh, that's really shiny, like that's too shiny, it doesn't look right, or maybe the colors are, the light just doesn't hit it, correctly. But the way they were able to do the Lego stuff was just so spot on. It had, the thumbprints on, where you could see the thumbprint of somebody playing with it, and
Yes.
a little chip around the edges of like color and stuff. I mean, the textures and lighting work and everything for those movies were so well done. They were able to replicate that look and feel of it, like you said, to where it almost felt like it was a real stop motion movie, almost like a Leica film, in a way. But the technology and the tools they created too, just the tools they helped to get those movements and stuff, definitely took that above and beyond, what they had.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it was and the fact that it had the first one to me had a heartfelt story of a father and his son, and the bonding that can take place between collectibles, which I think resonates with a lot of collectors. The second one I wasn't as thrilled about. The Lego Batman movie is just fun. Like I didn't learn anything from it. I didn't feel compassion towards it or anything, but it was just a fun movie. So I really like. Now the Ninjago, I'm not a big fan of that series build. My kids are, so they really enjoyed that movie. So yeah, we've kind of jumped from Disney over to Lego now, but I'll get back because I wanted to pick your brain mainly on these attractions since Tyler, we were talking earlier, and he's a frequent visitor of Disney World. And first off, have you rode the Tron ride?
yes, yeah, we got the pass holder. So when a new ride opens up, they'll generally let employees ride it, and then they'll do a pass holder preview. So if you're a pass holder like we are, where you pay, a yearly fee and you get a pass, so you can go to the parks whenever you want, kind of a deal. We're allowed to try for a raffle to try and get in to ride the ride early before it technically opens for the public. And so we were able to do that with Tron. And my wife and I are huge Tron Legacy fans. We also love the original Tron, but we absolutely love Tron Legacy. It's one of our favorite movies. So we had our original T-shirts we had when we bought when the movies came out. She and I had our Tron disc, which I have on the floor, actually, like the original ones they released with the movies. We had belt buckles, like it was like the whole 9 yards kind of a deal. So like when we went to go ride it, we were decked out. And it was a blast. It's the one teeny important. It's short. Just if it was just a tad bit longer, it would be super fun. But it's very fast. It's super fun, and it's one of those different ones because you're on a bike. So I mean you're hunched over, and it just feels different than any other roller coaster I've been on. You just feel more a part of it rather than just a side experience. You actually feel like you're kind of controlling the bike in a way. But yeah, it's a blast. It's a fun one, and we try to go on every now and then. Unfortunately, it's one where the lines can still be longer. You have to get into the queue to be able to get there. So if you don't get it, there's 2 times they drop it. First thing in the morning at 7 a.m. And thankfully, we don't have to be on property. We can be, because anybody actually around the world can do it. But we can make those reservations, and then if we get them, then we'll go to the park and ride it. But the second time they'll do it around 1 p.m. and that one you have to be in the park actually to try and get it. So
I think with like the last time, the Guardians one, we had to do the drop early and the Rise of the Resistance. And I remember practicing like a week before I'd pull up when the queue time started and just sliding the button down to keep refreshing it to try to get there. And it seems like every time we go, they change it a little bit of what time you can do it or where you have to be in the park. And so I have to like watch all these YouTube videos of influencers out there telling you how to do it prior to going to the park, because I don't want to miss out on any of those big rides, especially if you don't get to go but once a year or once every other year. You want to make sure and hit all those rides when you go.
Yeah. No, yeah, and thankfully, my wife, I think I brought up with you, but like her and her family grew up on Disney, so she's the go-to Disney expert. I mean, she knows the history of the park, she knows the current, stuff of the park. So I leave it to them. They wake up and multiple people will be trying to get in. So maybe one person doesn't, but the other person does. So So we're always generally have gotten lucky to be able to, we did the pass holder preview for Galaxy's Edge, which was incredible because
Oh, I can
again,
imagine. I can only
it
imagine.
wasn't open to the public, so it was almost practically empty. So being able to just go in and have that area to myself and like take the time to really absorb it, because now it's a lot more difficult. You go and it's packed, so you're trying not to, you're trying to look at the Millennium Falcon, but then you're trying to get out of people's way, and it's a little bit busier. But yeah, it's definitely super fun to be able to do that kind of stuff. So
Well, we'll jump into the Hollywood studio. Speaking of the Millennium Falcon, there, are you excited about that one? I thought that I would really enjoy that ride, and I did. It's a fun ride. You get the kids flying, and we crashed into everything because, of course, the smallest kids always want to be the pilot, and I'm the one back there pushing the button. I don't know what the button does on that ride, but after riding it a couple of times, it was fun. But I think it's the Rise of the Resistance. Hopefully, I'm saying the other one ride. That one I think I could ride multiple times and never get tired of.
Yeah.
And with this Mandalorian and Grogu update to the Smuggler's Run, I think that'll add different scenery to it. Because even though you're in the cockpit of the Falcon, you're pretty much going to go the same route. You're either going to be hitting the ground or flying a little bit. So adding something different, I'm excited about that. But the main one from Hollywood Studios, and my daughter even sent me this. I don't even know where she found it at because I hadn't showed them any of these new rides. But the suspended coaster for Monsters Inc. Land, where it looks like it's going through the door selection, that one looks like a lot of fun. That looks something different than I've seen at any other Disney attraction.
Well, and I'll start with that one. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy because I hadn't known it, or maybe I didn't. It just didn't really hit me. But it's going to be Disney's first suspended coaster. Period. They hadn't done a suspension coaster like this where you're hanging down and you're riding. All of theirs have been just seated experiences. So I think this one's perfect. This one, again, it's fun watching this stuff with my wife because a lot of this stuff that was either unveiled or shown was stuff that's been rumored for a while. With parks especially, I'll give Epic Universe as a great example. These parks, years in advance have to put in patents, and there are people that stalk the patent pages. And as soon as, Universal puts in a new one for a new ride, they've got it up. They know the name.
Really?
There's people who will make 2-hour videos of everything new with the park. So, as I've gotten more involved into the swirl with my wife, it's, I know about this stuff before they officially reveal. So then it's less of a surprise. But this has been one that people have been really wanting. Monsters Inc. I think is definitely a big property and one that I think can be easier maybe to forget how big it is. But I think this is going to be a great ride. I mean, it's such a great idea having the doors and the scream factor and everything.
It's justifiable. I mean, it makes sense why it would be a suspended coaster with just the movie. They're not trying to squeeze it in there just to have, for the sake of having it in there. It's really well played.
Yeah, it's always fun when things line up like that. That just makes sense, and I'm sure that's why they were like, we have to do a suspension coaster. We can't do this, any other way. It just wouldn't feel right. And then as far as Mandalorian and Grogu, I'm in the same boat as you. I love the Millennium Falcon. It's my favorite Star Wars vehicle, as it is with most people. I was very much looking forward to riding that ride, and I found it enjoyable. But I think the main issue is that you can ride it, but not technically complete the ride or experience the ride fully. Whereas if you ride a normal ride, yes, it's the same thing over and over, but you get to experience all of it. Whereas this one, like you said, it depends, unfortunately, upon the people you're riding with. If you have somebody who's not good at driving, who doesn't, know the buttons as such, you're not going to get that full ride experience. And honestly, I'm surprised it took them this long. Not saying because the interesting thing is this is technically a game. This all runs off of the Unreal Engine, which is a big game engine run by Epic, who makes Fortnite. So all this stuff is real time. They build this stuff inside of Unreal, and you go in and you play the game and ride, the simulation and stuff. So this stuff still takes a lot of time to make, but I am still surprised they didn't at least have maybe one or two kind of preloaded to be able to swap them out, almost kind of like with the original Star Tours ride, being able to give the same experience but a different experience riding through, especially just because the Smuggler's Run was a fun idea, but because it was new and there wasn't really anything pre-existing to bring you in, I'm surprised we didn't get. Why didn't we get the Empire Strikes Back? Like, I want the trench run. Give me the trench run on the Death Star, or we're battling in Hoth or something. Something familiar. But granted, I get that that's the first generation of Star Wars fans versus the current generation that maybe know only the new stuff. But I definitely think it'll be a good bump. I mean, everyone loves Mandalorian and Grogu, so I'm sure there'll be some funny scenes that pop up in this, and I'm looking forward to it for sure.
Yeah, and the little teaser image they have there of them flying actually beside the cockpit will be pretty cool to see.
Yeah, for sure.
Now I know I'm kind of hopping back and forth, but the Animal Kingdom, I've never heard anybody being like too excited about Dino Land USA. So are you heartbroken that it's going away in 2025?
I'm not personally. I know I'm sure my wife's out there listening. I know she's gutted. Her and her sister. Actually, funny enough, we went this weekend to Animal Kingdom. They both love taking photos of the animals, so we'll go wake up in the morning, go ride the rides, go walk the animal exhibits, and they take photos of them. But they love the dinosaur area. My sister-in-law always plays the games there. She tries to win the stuffed prizes and stuff. But for me, it's always interesting because I definitely understand the existing love for original Disney IP and people who grew up on the parks and being able to go to these places and have the same experience. But at the same time, I also understand that everything will change eventually. The Disney in 50 years is not going to be the same as the Disney now versus 100, or 70 years back when they first opened up the parks, or however long it is. But so it's a toss up. But and I'm kind of biased just because like Animal Kingdom isn't personally my favorite park. It has become my wife's and sister-in-law, surprisingly. Mine's Epcot. Epcot's my favorite park. But so I'm interested in seeing, at least for me, bringing in some things that I'll be more interested in, especially, stuff like Zootopia. Again, I hate that Shanghai got a really cool entire Zootopia area and we don't have that. So, bringing just a little bit of that. And then for stuff
like Zootopia, the Indiana Jones and the Encanto ride that are coming there, I'm assuming the Indiana Jones will take. I mean, it's taking place of the dinosaur ride that's there from what I've read, and I don't know where Encanto's going, if it's going to be which land it's going to be in, but
yeah,
I'm excited.
Concept, I think they're going to be right next to each other. I'm pretty sure.
Okay. It's all going to be in the same Dino Land USA area.
Yeah, but the Indiana Jones will. So the interesting thing is, Indiana Jones exists in California. The ride does. Indiana Jones and Dinosaur are the exact same ride setup. They're both. It's the same exact track and everything. So if you were to overlay them on top of each other, it's the exact same ride. So it's not surprising. Again, with Disney floundering and kind of hemorrhaging money, and also trying to bring interest into the parks and stuff, that's an easy win for them in their eyes to be able to take Indiana Jones and bring that ride over to Dinosaur and not have to rebuild entirely from scratch, but they can renovate the ride. And I'm at least glad that it is going to be a new storyline, that it won't be the same one in California, because that is a point my wife makes that I do agree with, that, you'd want to bring something to each side to make it so you'd want to go to both parks, not just so, hey, I can ride this at both places, so why would I ever want to go to Disneyland, kind of a deal. So I'm glad at least they're making a new storyline, and it'll evolve around animals, since Animal Kingdom is all about animals. So
Tyler, I'm losing my signal.
Yeah.
Here, I'm not sure what happened. All right. Yeah, I'm cutting in and out here. I think the kids have got on the Wi-Fi, so it's starting to have that same issue.
Yeah.
And man, I wanted to pick. Well, I guess we can, as these get closer, these rides get a little bit closer. We can chat on about them a little bit more as they pop up. So, uh, can you hear me now, or am I still cutting out?
Yeah. Oh yeah, you're good. I can hear you.
Okay, I'm sorry about that.
No problem.
As soon as you were talking, there, it's like, oh crud! You started spinning, and I started spinning too. So I think my Wi-Fi kicked off.
I just overloaded your internet with all that information, probably. So
no. If nobody else is enjoying it, I am. I'm sitting there because we start talking about some of these rides here, and knowing that you have a more intimate knowledge of them than the average person that would probably talk about Disney. It's fun to hear your thoughts on them. I think I'm back here. I wanted to get your. There's one other thing I was going to ask you about. So the test track, I'm excited about that. I tricked my wife into going on that ride because I told her it was just a car driving around a track, and she doesn't like roller coasters. And that's technically not a roller coaster, but it goes fast.
Yeah.
So I don't normally buy pictures after rides, but I had to buy that picture because she was screaming. And now Villains Land and the Cars ride. That was the last two things I was going to touch on. Villains Land will be. Do you know where they're put? It says it. Well, the Cars rides are coming to Frontierland, but where are they putting Villains Land at?
So it's still kind of unknown at the moment, but most people speculating, they're both supposed to be in Frontierland. So behind the Big Thunder Mountain roller coaster, there's extra land they have behind that they've not yet used. So most people are speculating they'll expand out into that. There's also rumors that unfortunately Cars Land will eat into the Tom Sawyer area and the riverboat ride that rides next to Haunted Mansion, which a lot of people are sad about as well. But again, at least right now, it's all just kind of speculation. Again, people will deep dive, like they'll take these concepts and try and line up, the top of a building with this and figure out where exactly it's going to go. But until we know for sure, it's just Frontierland, which is that area over by Big Thunder Mountain. So,
which I will say, when we go to Magic Kingdom, that's probably my kids' least favorite area to go to is the Frontierland with the Tom Sawyer and the Swiss Family Robinson and all that. But there's something just iconic about it. And even the Hall of Presidents, which is a little bit over, but the Country Bears Jamboree, all that stuff that my kids don't enjoy. That I was like, well, I remember going to early '90s and going to these things when I was a kid. This is kind of something that's almost a tradition. It is going to be sad to see some of those go away, but as the next generation comes and the theme park evolves, I guess you're right. It's got to change somewhat in order to stay relevant, and you can't get much more relevant than like Cars movies and the classic villains. It's something that's just completely new. I'm sure it'll bring tons of people to the park.
It's tough, I think it's a balance between original stuff from Disney and IPs, and I do think there's somebody made a great post about eventually, unfortunately, the parks will kind of just become a blur of every single IP that Disney owns, and that will be kind of sad. I like the thematic or the theming for each of the parks and how it kind of, but things will change and hopefully, it does, the main thing is that they're going to try to keep people, coming to Disney and investing. So.
Yeah. And the prices with the tickets, as they keep going up, at least until this point, it seems like for me, going every 2 years, every other year, every year, it seems like the prices go up every time I go to the park. But at least it's one of those that once you go and spend the full day there, I've never thought, well, I didn't get my money's worth. I feel like this was a waste of money. It's such an experience that much like, to segue back, much like reading a Skottie book, it's a very immersive experience no matter what book or what land you're in. And you definitely feel like you get your money's worth.
Yeah, totally.
All right. Well, we've been going a little over 2 hours now. My wife has only texted me once. So we still got you poor three people that stuck around. It's probably my wife and your wife and someone else.
I hear mine dealing with the dog right now. So it sounds like he's gotten into some trouble out there. So.
Well, if you look, I heard something drop upstairs. So I looked up and I was like, oh, somebody's getting in trouble upstairs as well. So we'll finish up with, I'll add this to whoever's out there. Oh, Ryan, thanks for the, you know what? I'm going to post that to the banner just to prove that there's someone else out there with us. thank you, Ryan, for sticking around for 2 hours.
Exactly. Yeah.
So we appreciate that. And if anybody wants to be on Skottie Talk, the next episode, please message either Tyler Laracy or myself, Dustin Whitney, and we'll make it happen if you want to. So not sure, yeah, thank goodness, not a bot. All right, Tyler, thank you for giving me your Tuesday afternoon and sharing your wisdom with me, and hopefully we can make this a regular thing.
Yeah, it was a blast. I mean, having Megan join in and people like Ryan sticking around, it's always fun. And like you said, I mean, we can clearly go the distance time wise. So
yeah, when I did these by myself, sometimes I go like live videos. It's like 5-10 minutes, and I'm ready to get off. But yeah, if my wife hadn't been texting, I probably could have went another 2 hours or so. So you can thank her. So all right, well, have a good rest of the night, Tyler. It's after 10 o'clock your time. So thank you, and I'll chat with you later about this.
Yep, appreciate it, Dustin. Take care, everybody.
Have a good night.